So business has been part of the Greenlit Fest last 4 editions. We used to have 1 session or 2 sessions. We thought it is high time that we had an independent, this is not totally independent, but a good segment. The 3 hours of curation that we are doing, it kind of looks like an independent festival. So why are we doing this? I think all of us are reading these days that businesses are pushing back against environmental laws, and that has been enacted. That's been fairly doing well in the last 10 years, especially in the US. I think civil society and readers, and we need to push back against the business and consumers, I'm saying particularly. And what's interesting is that in the last 10 years, especially last 5 years, the literature, green literature, books on green literature, be it water or renewable energy or waste, there have been several really good books that have come out, which means that there is an interest in writing about environmental connected to business, and that we need to promote such books. The platforms for promoting such books are very few, and I consider Green Literature Festival itself as a discovery platform for readers, writers, authors, publishers. So I think more or less it has done well in the last 4 editions, and we need to keep this going. And thanks to friends here who have made this happen. Madan particularly has been an angel who's been driving in his own way, contributing articles, and of course Vinay. Where's Vinay? He was here. Vinay, Dora from Thai, and everybody here, of course. Gayatri agreed as soon as I said we are going to do this, and she didn't even wince. She said, yes, let's do it. And of course, Dr. Babu and all of you for accepting to be here. And I'm sure we are going to have an engaging, interesting session. And yeah, welcome again. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, a very warm welcome to the Green Business segment of the 5th edition of Green Literature Festival. During these sessions, we'll cover a bit about the nuances of sustainability. For example, the tried and tested pathways to green transition, and of course AI. No event is complete without it. We'll be talking about mindful consumption, the future of ESG, for those looking to transition and build new careers, what is the path to be taken, etc. So that's what we've got planned until 4 p.m. With regard to this conversation, I think it's very important because our grand challenge is not just powering India, but powering it with stuff that doesn't melt, crack, pollute, or ends up as a problem in a board meeting, right? So this session is titled, How New Materials Will Shape India's Green Transition. And also, if you've ever looked at a pile of scrap and thought, there's definitely a coffee table in there, then you're in the right room. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the speakers. I'll start with Dr. Babu Padmanabhan. He's the founder and managing director of Steer World and a serial entrepreneur working at the intersection of science, technology, and engineering. He has over 30 inventions to his credit and holds more than 165 international patents. Welcome, Dr. Babu. Moving on, we have Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, who is the founder and CEO of BuzzOnEarth. She's an expert in sustainability and climate action, known for advancing innovation in environmental regeneration through a multidisciplinary approach. She also advises innovative corporations and startups on their ESG strategy, as well as the UN task forces on ecological restoration. Welcome, Ms. Gayatri. Moving on, we have Vishal Mehta, who is the CEO of unWOOD. He leads the company's strategic direction, ensuring that durable, high-quality unWOOD products are accessible to customers everywhere. He is also deeply committed to addressing two of the planet's most pressing environmental challenges, deforestation and plastic waste. We also have Santosh Nagasamy, who is the CEO of Phitons Bioengineering. He's a leader in sustainable packaging and combines innovation with environmental stewardship, driving impactful change in the industry. Finally, we have Mr. Prakash Hadimani, who is the Vice President of Advanced Applications at SteerWorld and has about 20 plus years of experience. He's a PhD in Polymer Science and Technology and has delivered over 30 global presentations, 15 publications, and is the holder of 2 patents. A warm welcome to all of you, and I would hand it over to Gayatri to take over. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Benedict and Lakshmi, for the kind introductions. So, I'm very pleased to be hosting this particular discussion, which is very close to my heart, because often when we talk about sustainability and green transition and India's future, the most important topics that generally are touched upon are, first of all, technology with respect to AI. And when we say technology, somehow AI, blockchain, data science, that becomes the talk of the town. The second aspect that often comes into picture is that of energy security, energy transition. How can we become an energy major? And if you look at the global, political situation also, most of the things are connected with energy. So energy, technology, and several other things happen to take the center stage, while we really miss the most important aspect that lays at the foundation of all of it, and that is materials. Whether we like it or not, but materials are touching every aspect of our lives. So that's why, just to keep this a little more engaging, we have a material scientist right here. So I would like to ask Dr. Babu, what exactly is material? How would you define it?
So, I'm not sure if this is on. Yeah, it's on now. So the root word of material is mater, matter, which is mother. So Mother Earth, Mother Nature, that's the root word of material itself. And the word matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, refers to what we consider as the founding blocks of everything that we know of existing. And matter, as in the physical term matter, means the elements which are around us, which is in the periodic table. So all of those elements, when they combine, they constitute the basic building blocks of materials. But the interesting thing about that is just carbon, when it forms a certain structure, it becomes a diamond, we all know that. And graphite or carbon black just depends on the structure. So one is the arrangement, which means how it combines with other elements, fundamentally molecules, and then how it gets arranged. So a material could have been found naturally because during the course of the physical evolution of the Earth, since 5 billion years ago, there have been materials around. A great example is stone. Stone can be, depending on its structure, depending on its composition, either marble or granite. And biological. So since the time life happened, various molecular structures have formed, and we have used materials. Cellulose and lignin join and become wood. Wood is a material that we have used. Then proteins become silk, and we use that material. But what differentiates what we call as material from a substance is really end use. We use materials to build and substances to consume, as eat or drink. It's different types of molecules. And when we think of a material, we usually think of it in the form of a composition and a structure.
Great. That really sounds very interesting. And just on that note, if you could expand on what would qualify as a new material?
Well, we are in the Anthropocene era. Yet to begin or not is subject to various hypotheses. But what does it really mean that now we have man-made materials? Now, when did that begin? So stone became a tool, the Paleolithic. Stone became a material, the Neolithic. But when a brick was made, a burnt brick was made, that was a material revolution. It behaves differently. The structure of the brick is now different. When a bird or a bee, let us say, a bird builds a nest, it's not changing the material. When a bee makes wax and builds a beehive, that's biology, but it's changing the material. So that is biological materials. But when man makes either a new molecule or a new structure, we recognize that it is a new material. And some of these molecules, neither nature created nor biology created. So that means we have not seen the test of time. We don't know how it interacts with rest of the living things or rest of nature itself. So new materials are generally man-made molecules or man-made structures with limited or no knowledge of its interaction with the rest of the planet.
That's quite deep, and while we try to understand what new materials are, it is also important to know where we are headed as a human civilization. You would all be surprised to know, but then all of us are anticipating that the amount of development that has happened in last 200 years in India, more than that is to happen in next 20 years, which means the kind of materials we choose, the scalability that we plan with those materials, the amount of impact these materials are going to have on our ecosystem, whether be that your soil ecosystem or biodiversity or the marine ecosystem or the air quality, all of these ecosystems are going to be hugely impacted by the mere choices we make with respect to materials. So, and also, I'm sure you all know that more than 25% of the total global emissions are coming from the production of materials. So materials are no small deal when it comes to planning a green transition for a nation like India that needs to develop at such a fast pace and that needs to really manage to develop in its own ingenuous ways. It cannot copy the West. The way West has developed, if we were to do that, we will probably need 3 more planets to take care of the resources that it requires. So in this context, I would also want to introduce the term called green materials. And I would also want to draw a distinction with what green is and what green is not. And again, coming back to you, Dr. Babu, since we had this discussion before the session, so many people do confuse green materials and renewable materials, and the whole concept of renewable and green gets mostly interchanged inadvertently. So how would you define green materials per se?
Thank you, Gayatri. I think you set the tone by saying, is renewable meaning green? So firstly, yes, if we are running out of fossil carbon in the form of reserves, crude oil, or any other form of fossil carbon, coal or gas, and that is a problem. And so clearly, once we recognize that from a source of carbon and also from an energy source, but what can be green? So as the term implies, anything green is friendly to life, particularly plants. That's why it's green. So any technology, any endeavor that will make life thrive would be green, not just what is renewable. So from a solar perspective, yes, it is tapping into the energy of the sun, which we know is going to be stable at least for the next 3+ billion years. Some may say 5, but at least for the next 3 billion years. So it is a steady source, it's abundant, it's available. But what is green would be that is benefiting biology. So any material which after use starts becoming a substance is of concern. It could be a rubber tire, it could be the road itself. As long as it remains a material, all is well. And most of the claim that, for instance, plastics industry would make is you can't find a more inert material. Yes, that is true. But in its journey, in its end of life, the way it's disposed, if that material can actually become a substance, we know how detrimental substances are. Pesticides, any kind of substance which interferes with biology is a problem. So substances are a problem, it's a well-known problem in the world. But if in the course of the material's journey, if that material can interfere with life, then it's not a green material.
All right. So when you say interfere with biology or interfere with life, I would probably interpret that as interfering with the biome. And that biome can either be a human biome or a natural biome like that of a water ecosystem or air. How do you, describe biology there?
Again, thank you. I would take only 2 more minutes and then allow for, enough time. So this term microplastics, or how can a material interfere at all, is very interesting to ask. And everybody has heard now how the COVID virus, the coronavirus enters cells. And it's really easy to get rid of the virus because it's covered by fat, the RNA of the virus. And just a little bit of alcohol or just washing with warm water is enough to get rid of the virus, because that fat is so easy to get rid of and the protein cannot live. So that's how easy it is to get rid of the virus. But you see the havoc it created once it entered into a cell. It just replicates and causes havoc. So similarly, these materials which are hydrophobic, that's why they're durable, they resist any kind of degradation, when they become smaller and smaller due to disintegration and they reach nanoscale, hydrophobic material attracts fats, and on that resides heavy metals and various other molecules, and they can enter cells because they're fat covered. And then when that happens, then these can have genetic implications. How many of us are afraid of genetic modified GM crops or GM organisms? A few of us. Continuing on that, how many of us are afraid of nuclear energy? Some of us. And how many of us are afraid of AI? Okay. So yes, we don't want to be afraid of materials too in our country or the transition, and that is why I believe this session has been important to share with. So yes,
Great.
Materials should be safe, should be green.
All right, thank you, Dr. Babu. And now I will very quickly come to our wonderful panelists who are representing some amazing innovative materials, and they'll be taking you through the work that they are doing, and we will follow the conversation through that. So coming to the concept of materials, I would also think that materials are basically some kind of systems. Material systems I'm talking about, because seeing materials as an isolated material which is going to solve a point problem, it is, gone are those days. And if we were to do that, then of course the whole, description that Dr. Babu gave about green materials and a new material goes for a toss. So when we describe materials, that integrated value chain, how it impacts, how it is processed, how through the end of life it is going to be, all of that becomes very important. So with that standpoint, Vishal, I would come to you first and would request you to explain what is unWOOD and how it is contributing to India's green transition.
I don't know how to start after what Dr. Babu has spoken, because people must be still thinking of what he said. So okay, give us some time and come back, and then we can continue to think on what Dr. Babu said. So we at unWOOD have created a new structure of material. This material is an alternative to hardwood. So this material, for the first time in the world, is as strong as wood. It can hold screws like wood, and we can create some wonderful products moisture and termite resistant. So it's even can be used where wood cannot be used, like outdoor furniture, and we do a lot of school furniture. These products are now around a lot of customers and top. Is mic working?
Yeah, when you hold it closer.
These products are now with a lot of customers, including top customers like Chauhan, Bangalore International Airport, Bangalore International Exhibition Center. And best thing is to make this material, we are using.
Oh.
To make this material, we use plastic waste and earth minerals. So it's a new structure that is created with plastic waste. Now, plastic waste are of different kinds. So plastics are of different kinds. So you know there's polypropylene, HDP, LDP, PP, and then there's MLP. These molecules of plastic, they don't go well together unless you process them at the molecular level. So we have the technology to homogenize multi types of polymer to form a new structure, and then we blend it, compound it with earth minerals to get this new material. From the ecological point of view, every metric ton of plastic waste that we recycle prevents this kind of plastic waste from incineration. So 1 metric ton of plastic waste, say you prevent it, you save 1.5 metric ton of CO2 from emission, and then you are replacing wood. So when you are replacing wood with 1 metric ton of plastic waste that we recycle, we save 3 fully grown trees, and each tree can continue to capture 1 metric ton of CO2 over its lifetime. So it has multi-pronged application. You save deforestation, you capture a pollutant, and you capture CO2 from, and it continue to avoid and recharge the environment. Thank you.
And the most beautiful part that I personally really like about unWOOD is that it is solving 2 very big ecological problems that I consider are really huge for the mankind to solve. You all would agree, you would have seen that picture of National Geographic where a tortoise is, caught up in the deep oceans with plastic, literally. So these are the visuals that really make me feel that no, we are doing something grossly wrong. And something has to fundamentally change in the way we imagine solutions and products and the development in itself. So that is one problem, like diverting plastic waste from landfills so that it does not end up contaminating our oceans, our soil, and various living conditions that become very problematic. So that is one. And second problem that it is solving is that of deforestation, because for the sake of wood, imagine how much deforestation happens. Companies, when they are evaluated by investors, they are actually often looked at how much you can grow year on year, right? But year on year growth, when your raw product is coming from something as pristine and as virgin as forests, what do you expect? So basically you are saying that growth has to depend on depletion of the forest at that same rate. So that itself defeats the whole paradigm. So this is another problem that unWOOD very beautifully solves. So that's why I personally am a big, proponent of what work unWOOD does. So good. Santosh, coming to you, you are representing another fascinating organization, Phitons, which is doing some amazing work with the plastic packaging and also with the mulch films. So why don't you take some time and explain what Phitons is all about and how it is contributing to India's green transition?
Thanks, Gayatri. Where Vishal's work stops, that's where Phitons' work picks up. You have plastics. Plastics is being vilified a lot, right? But it shouldn't be, because plastics is one of the most important inventions of mankind. Without that, our food security will be non-existent. Medical security will be non-existent. I guess the way we use it is a problem. It's been overused, abused. We always liken plastic to the Midas touch, right? It's like that. Everything, it is so important that we start using it in everything. And that's where we went wrong. So what Vishal is doing is ensuring that the important plastics has a decent end of life. right? Has an end of life which is good, which is not going to transform this material into a substance. And where I come in is to stop virgin plastics from coming into the system where plastics are not needed. You have single-use plastics which has been banned, right? But you go to the mom and pop shops today, you're going to get single-use plastics. And it's not wrong, because it needs to be, look and feel like plastic. Paper straws failed because paper straws are not really straws. The user experience is gone. How do we then create a material which has the look and feel of plastic, which behaves like plastic? It has the look and feel of plastics. It is commercially viable, it's as cheap as plastic, and also it is sustainable at scale. We are able to make it so that it is going to assimilate well with the environment. So we were inspired by the orange peel or the banana peel. It's a perfect packaging material. So it protects the product, the banana or the orange, and it assimilates in the nature without need for human intervention. And that's what we did. We designed and created a material which behaves exactly like plastic, but it will assimilate in nature. It doesn't need industrial composting facilities. You just throw it in soil and it will compost. I'm going to ask this audience a question, if I may. Right? 2 questions. First question, we all know we consume microplastics, right? Everyone knows that. But do we know how much? That's the question, right? And Rahul, who's sitting there, don't answer because you know this. So we consume 1 credit card size worth microplastics. The question is, in what time frame? Can anybody warrant a guess? A year, 2 years, 10 years? 5 years? Who else? Anybody? Give a guess. You'll be wrong, but you can give a guess. 1 year. Try 1 week. Right? That's what we're consuming in a week's time. How? Water, food, air. Dr. Babu spoke about tires. Tires is the #1 contributor of microplastics. You drive around and you're releasing microplastics. Right? I don't have solution to that yet. Right? Eventually, maybe. But currently, the second #2 contributor of microplastics is the clothes that we wear. Right? Every time you wash a so-called cotton cloth, it has got 2 to 5% polyester in it. And that's going to go into the water system. And it's going to go into the water vapor and come into us in form of rain. And we're going to drink it. There's microplastics available in the North Pole. How do you reach there? Right? The world is connected. Right? Just because I'm using green materials doesn't mean I'm safe. Everyone has to use green materials. We are sharing this earth. Right. The second question I'm going to ask you is, maybe I'll ask it later. That's about it. So what we're doing is we're coming up with materials which will assimilate well with the environment, does the work of plastic, because it is important for us to have those materials. And we're working with large organizations. So most of the time you think of plastic, single-use plastic, you think of carry bags, pouches, right? But what we do is there are other people solving that problem. What we do is work with large organizations like Toyota. We go into Toyota, do a system audit there and see, okay, you're using plastics, single-use plastics to cover your material, your components when you transport it in your supply chain. Can we change that? Just one single OEM is probably using about 200 tons of plastics a month. Right? And they use it for 2 days. That's it. And it's thrown, incinerated. It's burnt. It's not even incinerated. So why do we have such bad AQI in India? It's because of that. Right? It's because that's being burnt. Right? So we are solving that problem. Every single plastic mulch which is used in the country today. Who's familiar with mulching? Mulching is a wonderful technique invented about 30 years ago where you put a plastic sheet on the ground. Great invention. It protects moisture from evaporating from the agricultural soil, and it protects weeds from growing. So increases the yield by up to 25-30%. Right, fantastic invention. But what they didn't realize at that time is when sunlight falls on plastic, it fragments and becomes microplastics. That enters the soil. That enters the soil and becomes a substance, which is absorbed by the root zone, comes into the fruits, vegetables which we eat. Even if yours is organic, if they use plastic mulch, it's got plastic in it. right? And I'm very proud to say that we are a small Indian company sitting here, and we have the first viable solution to plastic mulch. We are the first ones in the world to invent it. 500 acres last season has been replaced by our compostable mulch. It's called Earthen Agri. And now we're looking at 1,000 acres this season, and then sky's the limit after that. I think I've taken a lot of time, Gayatri.
Thank you, Santosh. So, wonderfully explained, and I would come to you, Dr. Babu, if you would like to add to what, unWOOD and Phitons are doing, and since you imagine everything at a molecular level, how would you want to, add to the innovation here? Yeah.
Sure. Actually, I was is that I did listen intently, and the fact that these are named what they are because of the way they behave. So the word plastic is attached to a material that easily deforms, and I just wanted that from understanding that the problem of microplastic is varied. It is not to do with something like this microphone becoming microplastic, but microparticulates is being like a catch-all phrase using the word microplastic. But having said that, I think we have to do what we can in places where it starts affecting us the most. It starts affecting us the most in soil, and Phitons is attempting to make sure that it's eradicated. And like you rightly said, when these thin, flexible packaging reaches the ocean, that's when it affects the most. So unWOOD is attempting to make sure no plastic film will reach the ocean. So these are the two major areas. But systematically, as India moves to the 2047 or the 2070 goals, we have to claim materials back as green.
So coming to India reaching 2070, I'm more concerned about two more, deadlines before that. So 2050 is the deadline for, actually I should not use the word deadline, that sounds quite deadly. Yes, so the 2050 timeline has been given for the way we are producing food itself. The soil will not be farmable beyond that period if we do not change the way we are growing food. So my foundation runs a program called Mission Prakriti, which is about how we can enhance the soil fertility. India has close to 98 million hectares of degraded land, and of which, just even if we look at some that can be saved, that is directly used by agriculture, that would be a great boon for the Indian development, because look at the way our population is growing. How will we feed the country if the soil is not managed? So that way again, San, what you said, so San and the Phitons organization has a product called Earthen Agri, which is a mulch sheet that is really going to play a very important role in ensuring that the mulch sheets are not causing microplastics to enter the soil and not destroy the biodiversity within the soil. And also, of course, it has risk for human health, but before that, the soil health is more important. Before others, we won't be able to grow the food that we can. So that is the 2050 timeline given by the UN. So that is one. And the second timeline is that of 2060. We are going to be producing more than 190 billion tons of material by then. And that's where I come to you, Prakash, because see, on one hand, we can look at materials that can be diverted from landfills. So one is saving soil, one is trying to save the trees. And so now when we look at saving resources also, because the first step should be how to make anything more recyclable. That comes even before that. So I would love to hear from you, Prakash, how Steer World is innovating in this respect.
Thank you so much. See, there are, to India to grow, first of all, I just heard about Vishal and our Santosh. See, these are the two materials they are talking about. First, Vishal told me there is a polymer, it melts, it can be recycled. And he's talking about, Santosh talking about the biopolymer, again recycle. And also if it go to the landfill, then again it degrades and it loses its property. Today I'm going to talk about, there are materials, hard materials, that cannot be recycled. Till today there is no solution. Steer is the one company giving solution, the new innovation, new materials, technology. There are three resources. There is crisis. One is on the waste crisis. Waste crisis means hard metal cannot be reused. We need to have a solution. And the second one is the resource, imported resource. There are many materials coming to India. We don't have any solution. If you talk about PBAT, biopolymer, PLA, is there any solution? Everything is imported still. Okay. And the third one is on the pollution. Third one is pollution. Many the textile materials, and also we have agriculture materials. It's polluting. But if you reuse those and put it in the plastics, and that can be, because currently we are talking about most of the electrical vehicles. If you adapt to that, how much savings we can do? These are the three applications, three innovation done by Steer. I'm talking about one by one. Can you go ahead, or you have a question? Yeah, okay, fine then.
All right, so this was a very quick introduction to the panelists and the wonderful work being done. So now coming back to you, Vishal, since you did mention, role of unWOOD in India's green transition. So the second question that comes to mind is, if that is the kind of speed and scale required, how do you manage that? I mean, in my own knowing, in last 4 months, unWOOD has been really going places. It has become quite a known brand. You have already named some of the clients that you have, Decathlon and so on. So how do you manage, because end of life of the product also has to be borne in mind, because green materials gets defined that way. How does unWOOD solve that problem?
Yeah. See, unWOOD needs to scale fast, because we first need to understand India's growth story. So our population is more than 1.4 billion already. By 2047, we will be more than 1.6 billion. 40% of our population needs to move to better homes or for their own home for the first time, and lot of infrastructure needs to be replaced. Can you imagine the amount of cement, steel, timber that will be needed? To take these materials, you will have to exhaust all your natural resources, and these are all high carbon footprint materials. So we are rapidly scaling to solve this problem. Now, when you are doing this and when you are creating this material, end of life is also important. So we do three things very carefully. Firstly, we are taking a raw material which is actually a waste. Secondly, it is done in a way that it is extremely low in its carbon footprint. So for example, this is a miniature, but imagine a full-scale park bench made with unWOOD and a conventional park bench, which is the cast iron frames with FRP pieces. When that bench is made, there is 150 kg of CO2 emission. When unWOOD bench is made, there is 32 kg of CO2 emission. This is done and validated by a European body. So we are saving 120 kg CO2 per product. So this is a second saving. The third saving is, we do not degrade the polymer when we recycle. Very important, because in recycling you go down, the quality goes down. We are maintaining the quality, in fact we are increasing the value, so we are upcycling. So at the end of the life, unWOOD can be recycled again. So this piece that you see is from recycled unWOOD. So just to show you an example that you are keeping the material in continuous recycling. This is the level of work that is needed to ensure that the future of India is in mind.
So when you say you are recycling or upcycling, do you mean that no waste is going down to earth? Absolutely. Okay, even if people throw that out. Okay.
No, not throw that out. So yeah, we are creating a circular system. So it is an inert material. If you throw it also, it will not leach. It has been tested by TUV, at TUV. But if you capture it back, I can recycle it again into the same product. It's inert. It's inert. It's tested actually at TUV, and it does not leach any particle or any chemical into the environment.
But in your sales model, do you bundle it with a circular commercial model?
Yeah, we want to do that. We are little small right now. So what we are doing is we are creating products which are going to last 10 to 15 years from now, and we are rapidly scaling to reach that level where we can come up with a subscription model or a turnaround model.
So like whoever is buying, he has to give it back and get the...
Yeah, that's part of the business plan, and we luckily have...
Just to add to that, so even today if we see rigid or large materials are never thrown, only flexible and such materials, light materials. So we don't expect to be thrown.
Yeah. And okay, maybe just one more point I came to know from the India's growth story, again with numbers, is that just the school benches India will need. We are expecting 33 million students to need school benches. So we also run a program called Benches for Change. So in last 6 months, we have done furniture for 7 schools already. So it is something where students, when they sit on the school bench, not only they get a dignified infrastructure, the first question that comes in the classroom is, what is this bench made of? And they learn about sustainability, deforestation and plastic recycling. That's very important that the next generation is learning about it right at the education stage.
Great, thanks. So I think you have already answered both the questions. In the interest of time, we'll move to you, Santosh. So would you like to just shed some light on how India can be self-reliant and not import these sophisticated polymers from outside of the country?
I think the question is, should we even wait to think about it? Right now, just how we need to have sovereignty when it comes to energy, how we need to have sovereignty when it comes to food. We need to have sovereignty when it comes to packaging material as well. Because if, for example, I take, right now we get all of our compostable polymer, the actual polymeric resin, we get it from China, right? And imagine if there is global political tension, geopolitical tension, and they decide to increase the price of the material by 10%. Every single thing which is wrapped today will go up in prices. Do we want to give an external power the control on India's costs of basic, material, food, for example, or anything that we buy? I think that's absolutely it's a matter of national security that we need to be sufficient when it comes to materials as well, and we need to build sovereignty when it comes to materials. And Phitons is doing that. In fact, the primary polymer which we use in our materials is something called PBAT. Now, PBAT is primarily coming in from China, but we have now in the labs, we have finished, we have done it about 30 or 40 times. We know how to make PBAT. But again, the way we're doing it is going to be completely different. And we are leveraging certain steer capabilities in continuous synthesis to make it disrupt this completely. So currently what's happening in the world, even the latest plants which set up these polymers are made using maybe 3 or 4 decades old technology, right? And what we are doing now is we want to disrupt that. In fact, I'm already working with some state governments, given some proposals to set up India's first pilot plant in the next 18 to 20 months to start manufacturing these resins in-house. And this is the direction in which we have to go.
Great. Sure. Do I ask one question to Prakash? Okay. Yes. Okay, let him explain the product because I did not give him the chance to talk about the product as yet.
Yeah. Sorry, there are some XLPE materials, currently the cable. Okay, everybody is using in home. Do you know, is it recyclable? Because every day, day-to-day activities, you are using your cables, right? Even including your laptop and all. Do you know that it is going to recycle? No, most of the XLPE cables are not at all recyclable because it is forming as a thermoset. Once it is formed a thermoset, that cannot be reused again. Currently what's happening? Most of the time it's going for a landfill or in the pyrolysis method. When you go for a pyrolysis, again you are going to high energy, more temperature required, and again environmental it's affecting. But there is a solution. Steer has made a solution using fractional geometry. What we are doing, thermomechanical process. We are not using any chemicals. Thermomechanical process, debonding the structure of the, where we have a thermoset structure that can be debond, that can be break into two parts, and it makes a reusable. So that this is the product of the, when you get the cable, it's already compounded. These pellets can be reused again for the paint dabbas. It can be reused already, and also if you are saying that that can be put it back to the system, yes, possible, in the outer layer of your cable. Cable have three layers, right? There is the inner layer is an insulated cross-link layer. Outer layer is also one more layer that can be reused, and also you can use your irrigation pipes. And currently there are foams. Sorry.
Yeah. And do you want to just show the...
Another one?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, the stones currently, these fumic stones, currently using for denim jeans to wash it so that you get shading for your jeans. But this had going to most of the time sludge and going to the landfill, and then again that water, whatever you're using, you cannot be reused. That is why we worked out the new model. It's like a synthetic stone, we call it as. This can be, if you use 3 uses, it will go into the landfill again. This cannot be recovered, this cannot be reused. But these stones, you can use it, this is a synthetic stone, this can be recycled, and also it can wash 1500 cycles. And it also, the same water can be reused. That's you can store your waters. And then lastly, this one is, you have agriculture products, jute and the hemp, and also rice husk. It's currently many people are burning and it's going to the landfill. But if you reuse 60 to 70% of bio with the polymer, and you can use automotive articles and this kind of the articles, and if you use some of the bumpers articles in the EV, and the 10 kg of this process if you reduce, and there is a increase 2 kilometers, you can further improvement on the EV solution.
Okay, great, great, Prakash. Thank you so much. And
if you have any question, please.
Yeah, we'll open. Yes. Yes.
Check.
So Santosh mentioned about waste mulching. Vishal mentioned about India's population growing and the needs. Now my question is about retail consumption. Okay, so the Procter & Gamble's and Hindustan Unilever's and Nestle's, if you enter a retail shop, you know how much plastic it is being used. Do you have any plans for addressing that retail segment?
Just 1 second, we are really running late. You can answer him outside. You can meet, both of you can meet. We are really running short. So, yeah, so thank you so much, all of you.
All right, thank you. And do we need to summarize, or we are...
People understood everything.
Okay.
Now I'm going to ask questions.
Now there will be a question for the audience, whether they understood or not. Okay.
Thank you so much to all the panelists. Again, if there are any questions, we can catch them outside.